The first thing I registered after the car accident was a faint, electronic buzzing sound that seemed to originate from inside my own skull. A disembodied voice, flat and robotic, echoed in my mind, informing me that I had just awakened. To my profound shock, it explained that I wasn't just Leo, a man who had been in a car wreck. I was a villainous, disposable side character in a convoluted novel about a kept husband. According to this voice, the hero of the story was my wife's old flame. My wife's younger sister was his fiery, on-again, off-again love interest. Her older sister was a powerful CEO who, in the story, would abdicate her corporate throne for him. And me? My role was to try and seduce my wife's older sister, assault her younger one, and make repeated, failed attempts on the male lead's life, only to meet my end on a desolate street, clutching half a stale croissant I'd pulled from a garbage can. The entire premise felt utterly bizarre, a fever dream born from the trauma of the crash. But the voice in my head was insistent. It told me that since I had awakened before the main events of the plot kicked off, I had a chance, a merciful opportunity from the heavens, to change my fate. This, it said, was my survival battle. The situation has been fully explained. The buzzing voice concluded. Congratulations on your successful awakening. From this point forward, the plot is in your hands. The electronic hum was still vibrating behind my eyes as I shot up in the hospital bed, a half-eaten apple still in my hand from before whatever this was. What did you just say? I asked the empty room. I tried to seduce my wife's sister, assaulted her younger sister, and I died holding a piece of garbage croissant? The voice, which I was beginning to think of as my system, adopted a sympathetic tone. I know this is difficult to accept, but if you do not begin to alter your path now, everything will unfold exactly as written. A week ago, I'd been in a car accident on my way home. When I came to, I was in this hospital bed, my body aching, and this strange system had taken up residence in my head, feeding me this insane narrative about my life being a novel where I was the bad guy. Honestly, could I even pull off being a villain? I was known throughout City A as the most laid-back and unmotivated heir of a wealthy family. My parents had always favored my sister, pouring all their resources and hopes into her. My mother once bluntly told me I was the result of a youthful accident and a failure in contraception. My sister was groomed from birth to take over the family business, while I was simply expected to exist comfortably. For a while, I did just that. I lived a carefree life of parties and casual flings, never getting too attached. That all changed when our family business faced a sudden downturn. My parents, through a combination of guilt-tripping and sweet-talking, convinced me to enter into a strategic marriage with the Liu family. My wife, Clara, and I didn't share a passionate storybook love, but we had a foundation of mutual respect and got along well enough. Clara is the second daughter of the Liu family, and she is breathtakingly beautiful. Her older sister, Catherine, is a phantom figure I've never met but who supposedly controls 90% of the Liu family's vast empire, a woman described as cold and unapproachable. The idea that I would try to seduce her was laughable. I wouldn't survive the attempt. The Liu family is the most powerful dynasty in City A, a lineage of true old money that has lasted for centuries. The family patriarch had longed for a male heir, but this generation produced only 3 daughters. The youngest, Sophie, was expected to live a life as carefree as mine, but she defied expectations by becoming a massive star in the entertainment industry, the youngest actress to win all the major awards. The idea that I would dare to harm her was even more terrifying. Her fans alone could ruin me. The system in my head didn't seem to care about the look of abject terror on my face. It just kept repeating its warnings. Just then, the door to my hospital room opened, and my wife walked in. "The doctor said you need to rest," Clara said, her voice as cool and clear as water from a mountain spring. "Why are you sitting up? Are you trying to make your injuries worse?" My first instinct was to leap into her arms, to seek comfort in her familiar, soft fragrance. But the system's words echoed in my mind. The premonition of her having me beaten and cast out was still fresh and vivid. I scrambled off the bed and hobbled to the far corner of the room. "Don't come any closer," I shouted, my voice trembling. Clara frowned, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. "Didn't the doctor say there was no brain injury? Get the doctor in here right now." She gently guided me back to the bed and dispatched her assistant to find the doctor while she pressed her forehead against mine, checking for a fever. The delicate scent of orchids filled my senses, and despite the terror, a wave of desire washed over me. "You're still sick?" she murmured, a hint of teasing in her tone. "What are you thinking about?" I turned my head away, embarrassed. "I wasn't thinking about anything. Stop making things up." She just smiled softly. "Really? Some people swallow very loudly, you know." Before I married, my father, a man hopelessly devoted to my formidable mother, once gave me a piece of earnest advice. Take good care of your wife. Being completely in love is the best thing a man can bring to a marriage. I had worried at first, knowing our marriage was a business arrangement. What if Clara decided to keep a lover on the side? In our social circle, it wasn't unheard of. But to my surprise, Clara was incredibly disciplined. She never gave other men a second glance, and our physical connection was undeniable. The thought that this woman, my wife, would one day be the cause of my demise for another man was a bitter pill to swallow. The doctor reported respectfully to Clara that my external injuries just needed rest. As for the other issues you mentioned, he added cautiously, would you like a psychiatrist to get involved? Clara waved him off dismissively before starting to pack my things to take me home. The system immediately started its commentary in my head. See? When a woman doesn't care about your mental state, it's because she's hiding something. Overwhelmed, I shook my head and muttered aloud, "Shut up, you're insane." Clara glanced at me, her expression unreadable, and continued packing. She probably only refused the psychiatrist to save face for the Liu family. They couldn't have their reputation tarnished by a live-in husband who was losing his mind. Suddenly, the system blared with a new urgency. Level 1 alert. The male lead has entered the scene. Host, stay clear. The door swung open, and a tall, handsome man appeared in the doorway. Sorry, wrong room, he said, his voice bright, and his almond-shaped eyes gleaming with an innocent, puppy-like charm. My blood ran cold. This was it. Clara stared at him for what felt like an eternity. Ethan, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Senior, he replied. As the supposed male lead, Ethan was described as having every advantage. He came from a poor background but was hardworking, handsome, and brilliant, having gotten into the country's top university on a full scholarship. It was there he and Clara had a legendary romance before he ruthlessly broke up with her to study abroad. This was their first meeting since. If my system was correct, this chapter of the novel was titled Return to the Country. Clara and Ethan stood there, gazing at each other with an unspoken history hanging in the air between them, completely oblivious to me lying in the hospital bed. The system was practically buzzing with glee. Old flames reigniting. Look at them, pretending to be calm. Who knows what kind of storm is brewing inside? Your wife's eyes are practically red. For once, I thought the voice had a point. I wasn't even sad anymore. I was too busy calculating how I could get myself gracefully sent back to my family's home without ending up crippled and clutching a croissant in a gutter. So, I said lightly, breaking the charged silence. You two know each other? Clara snapped back to the present. Ethan is my junior from university. He just got back from overseas. This is my husband, Leo. Ethan gave me a disarmingly open smile. Nice to meet you. Your wife and I were very close back then. The nerve of this guy, staking his claim right in front of me. I clenched my fists under the blanket but forced them to relax. Survival first. I couldn't afford to antagonize the hero of the story. Maybe I should go, I offered, reaching for the cane beside the bed. Give you two some space to catch up. Clara grabbed my hand firmly. You're a patient. Just stay put. Ethan chimed in. Yeah, Mr. Wang. Seniors busy with work don't cause her more stress. My fists clenched again. I shot a look at Ethan. According to the story, he was currently supposed to be entangled with Sophie, the youngest Liu's sister. The two sisters were meant to fight over him while he captivated them both, along with the elusive eldest sister Catherine. My character, driven by jealousy, was supposed to oppose him at every turn, becoming so unhinged that I would eventually meet a brutal end. The author of this supposed novel clearly had it out for me. I racked my brain for a way out of this narrative, and an idea struck me. Clara is the one who eventually has me thrown out. So, if I don't antagonize Ethan and make sure Clara doesn't hate me, I might just survive. Seeing the lingering look in her eyes as she gazed at him, I cleared my throat and announced loudly, It's always a joy to reunite with an old friend. Ethan, if you don't mind, why don't you come over for dinner tonight? I looked at my wife. That was all the help I could offer her. At the family dinner that night, the atmosphere was thick with forced cheerfulness. Clara and Ethan were lost in conversation about their college days, their laughter echoing through the villa, while I felt like an invisible ghost at my own table. Frustration simmered inside me. The system piped up again. See that chubby orange cat on the table? Even if you meowed just as eagerly, you'd never be part of this scene. I couldn't help but roll my eyes, and of course, Ethan caught me. He smiled innocently. Sorry, Mr. Wang. Senior and I were just enjoying ourselves. We completely forgot you were here. This was my house. Where was I supposed to be? Under the car? Clara looked at me with a hint of coolness. If you're bored, perhaps you could take a walk in the garden. It was a clear dismissal. Just as I stood up to leave, the maid's voice announced, Third miss, you're here. Second miss is entertaining a guest. Ethan stiffened almost imperceptibly. The system practically squealed in my head. Here we go! The first official love triangle showdown is about to begin. With a fake smile plastered on my face, I welcomed my sister-in-law Sophie into the house. The moment she stepped inside, her eyes locked onto Ethan, and the air crackled with an undeniable chemistry. The lively villa fell silent. As the designated side character, I felt it was my duty to nudge the plot along. So, Sophie, I asked, you know Ethan too? Yes, she said. At the exact same moment, Ethan said, no. He then added, looking at me, Mr. Wang, please, just call me Ethan. I rubbed my forehead with a wry smile. It turned out the two of them were in the middle of a fight. Sophie had apparently tracked Ethan to my house and was not pleased to find him chatting so happily with her sister. Ethan, come here, Sophie said, her voice low and commanding. He refused to move. How many times do I have to explain? She said, her voice rising. I have nothing going on with that guy, it's him who keeps trying to create fake dating rumors. Just then, the large television in the living room, which had been playing softly in the background, switched to an entertainment news segment. Recently, the media revealed a romantic scandal between A-list actress Sophie and rising star Martin. The two were seen passionately kissing on the streets of London, sparking envy all around. A vein bulged on Ethan's forehead, his face flushed with anger. That's your idea of nothing going on? He shouted. You two look like the perfect celebrity couple while I'm just some cosmic joke. The atmosphere grew so tense I started to panic, spinning in circles as I tried to think of a way to defuse the situation. Suddenly, there was a loud crash as the screen shattered, sending shards of glass flying everywhere. Senior, look out! Ethan yelled, throwing himself in front of Clara to shield her from the blast. My brand new 200-inch LED TV was destroyed. Sophie stood there holding the neck of a shattered wine bottle, radiating pure aggression. Brother-in-law? She said with a chilling smile. Looks like it's time you replace that TV. Ethan glared at her. Senior didn't do anything to you. What the hell are you doing in someone else's house? As expected of the male lead, he fearlessly stood up to the notoriously spoiled Sophie. I'm going off? She snapped. Do you really not know who I'm going off for? Come with me right now, or don't blame me for what happens next. She reached out to drag Ethan away, but Clara stepped between them. Sophie, you need to calm down. Sophie raised an eyebrow. And what position are you in to tell me that? His ex-girlfriend? I could have sworn Clara glanced at me after she said that. Ethan looked pale. Senior and I are ancient history. We're just old friends catching up. Is this really necessary? Wow, Sophie scoffed. I should give you an award for best ex-boyfriend. Even years after the breakup, you're still rushing to protect her. It was a full-blown drama. I felt a chill run up my spine and quickly called the maid to clean up the mess. As she approached, the maid gasped. Mr. Ito, your hand is bleeding! A shard from the broken television had sliced Ethan's arm, and blood was now flowing freely. Clara and Sophie shouted his name in unison, their eyes filled with concern. I clicked my tongue and turned to leave. But as I did, a sharp pain flared in my back. I reached behind me and my hand came away sticky with blood. Just before everything went dark, I thought I saw Clara drop everything and run towards me, leaving Ethan behind. If this was a hallucination, I hoped it would last a little longer. I woke up once again in that painfully familiar VIP hospital room. The young nurse joked that I should get a membership card. A wave of bitterness washed over me. I hadn't even started actively causing trouble according to the plot, and I was already getting injured this frequently. At this rate, I wouldn't need a villainous scheme to die. I'd just trip into my own grave. Clara wasn't there when I woke up, which I assumed meant she was with Ethan. So I was surprised to see Sophie sitting at my bedside, meticulously peeling an apple. "Sorry, brother-in-law," she said without looking up. "I got you hurt." This was new. The little tyrant was apologizing to me. She was sitting a bit too close, and I instinctively leaned away as she handed me the apple, which looked like it had been gnawed on by a dog. "What do you think about my second sister and Ethan?" she asked casually. So this was a test. Sophie, the tragic secondary female lead, hopelessly in love. According to the novel, she now suspected Clara and Ethan were rekindling their old flame and was about to offer me money to get out of the picture. I knew her playbook. She would try to swat me away like a bug. "If you leave my sister," she said, confirming my suspicions, "I'll give you a large sum of money and get you out of City A. Don't worry about your family's business. I'll make sure it's taken care of." I glanced at the empty doorway, a memory from my wedding night surfacing. I had been drunk, and when I stumbled into our bedroom, Clara was waiting on the couch. As she handed me a bowl of hangover soup, her shawl slipped, revealing skin like polished porcelain. She was always good to me. Everyone else called me a spineless kept husband, but she would rest her head on my shoulder and whisper, "They don't know how good you are." But I do. But I also knew she would treat any husband well. Ethan was the one who truly lived in her heart. Sophie was losing patience. She held up a single finger. 100 million. That should be enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. If I walked away now, I'd be alive and rich. The alternative, being crippled and dying on the street with half a croissant, made my stomach churn. I reached out and took her hand. "Deal." She raised an eyebrow. "So eager to leave my sister, huh?" This was my cue to deliver a convincing speech. "You know it's just a business marriage between your sister and me," I said, improvising. "We've been putting on a show for years. I've had enough of being a gutless kept husband. You take care of my family, I'll take your money, and ride off into the sunset. That's real living." She nodded, seemingly satisfied. I let out a sigh of relief. Test passed. But then, an angry voice cut through the air from the doorway. "So you've been wanting to leave me all along?" Why was the previously empty doorway now packed with the last people I wanted to see? Clara, my father, my mother, and my sister. One look at their dark, devastated expressions told me they had heard every single word. I tried to get up to explain, but the movement pulled at the wound on my back, and I collapsed back onto the bed. Clara slammed a lunchbox onto the table and stared at me with icy fury. "Divorce? Not a chance." My father rushed to my side, hands on his hips. "You idiot! It's not your back that's injured, it's your brain. Clara went out of her way to bring us here to see you. She even made you soup herself. And this is how you repay her?" Sophie had already made her escape, muttering an excuse about needing the restroom. I gave up and pulled the blanket over my head. My mother apologized profusely to Clara. My sister was even more direct, slapping me through the blanket. "Sister-in-law, if this punk ever acts up again, just let me know. I've got 100 ways to set him straight." Frustration and humiliation surged through me. I married into this family for their sake, willingly becoming a live-in husband. Now, with a potential death sentence hanging over my head, not a single one of them felt sorry for me. They were all siding with an outsider. In the original story, after Clara kicked me out, she declared that anyone who sheltered me was an enemy of her family's corporation. Even my own family wouldn't let me in. I was just a tool. I just wanted to live for myself. I threw off the blanket and shouted, my voice raw with emotion. "You've never once treated me like family. All you care about is the family's interests. You married me off like a bargaining chip into a den of wolves. Do you have any idea how terrified I am every single day, just trying not to get killed by accident? I want a divorce." After my outburst, the room fell dead silent. Everyone stared at me in shock, even Clara, whose usual graceful composure seemed to have cracked. She walked slowly towards me, her lips parted as if to speak. "Leo, you—" I held up a hand. "Don't. I don't want to hear it. I just want to be alone." I struggled out of bed and, under their stunned gazes, shuffled out of the hospital room and into the busy streets. I don't know how long I wandered, a mess in my hospital gown, but thankfully, in the real world, No one paid much attention to a single person's breakdown. A flashy sports car screeched to a halt in front of me. My friend Alex stuck his head out the window. "Leo, you're trending online." Some paparazzi had apparently followed me and live-streamed my dramatic exit. The headline was something like, "Lou Corporation's kept husband has public meltdown." Alex had seen it and driven over immediately, mostly to laugh at me. After I told him everything minus the part about the system in my head, he waved his hand grandly. "Come on, crash at my place. We've got a massive pool party tomorrow night." The last time I'd been to a party felt like a lifetime ago. If the Liu sisters were about to go to war over Ethan, maybe it was time I started living my own life again. The next night, at Alex's family villa, the air was thick with neon lights, booming music, and the energy of 100 dancing bodies. I felt completely out of place, sitting quietly by the pool, sipping a drink. Alex strolled over, a rising starlet on each arm. "You're no fun, man," he said. "The whole place is lit, and you're just sitting here brooding." These two said they admire you. According to the novel's plot, this was the moment I was supposed to hook up with one of them, leading to a dramatic confrontation when Clara inevitably caught me. The two women were beautiful, their figures perfectly sculpted in tiny bikinis, but all I could think was that they still weren't Clara. "Young Master Wang," one of them purred. "We've heard so much about you. Would we be lucky enough to become your friends?" I subtly leaned away from them, the heavy scent of their perfume making me dizzy. Alex, seeing I wasn't interested, waved them off. "Willow's already moved on," he said, plopping down beside me. "You still trying to be faithful? Come on, man. Enjoy yourself." He suddenly jumped to his feet. "I get it now. You like the cool, unattainable types like Clara. Just wait." 10 minutes later, he returned with a group of women in tow. "Whoever takes care of my bro tonight," he shouted, popping a bottle of champagne, "gets the lead role in my dad's next film." Before I could react, I was swarmed. Lipstick-covered kisses landed on my face, and one woman even tried to pull down my pants. It was utter chaos. Eventually, they just picked me up and tossed me straight into the pool. As I floated in the chlorinated water, I spotted a familiar figure at the edge of the pool. Ethan was standing there, watching the entire spectacle. When I finally scrambled out, dripping wet, he handed me a towel. "Carrying on like this, do you think you're being fair to Senior?" That was it. I saw red. I grabbed his collar. "And you think seducing a married woman is fair to your conscience?" His face darkened. "There's nothing going on between Senior and me. Insult me all you want, but don't insult her." Alex stepped in. "So you're the pretty boy, huh?" he said, grinning as he kicked Ethan in the backside. The situation was spiraling out of control. I reached out to pull Ethan away, but a furious voice barked my name from behind me. "Leo, haven't you made a big enough scene already?" Clara stood there, her face a mask of fury. Ethan, seeing his savior, practically crawled over to her. "Senior, I was just trying to remind Mr. Wang to behave himself, and he let his friend kick me." Alex shot me a reassuring look. "Yeah, I kicked you. Got a problem with that?" A wave of warmth spread through my chest. He was a true friend. Clara stepped in front of Ethan, shielding him. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at Alex. "Young Master Chan, your family's deal for that suburban land still hasn't gone through, has it? I'd be happy to raise the price tenfold. If your father finds out it was because of you, do you think he'll send you to South Africa to dig for diamonds?" I couldn't let Alex get exiled to Africa for my sake. But before I could speak, Alex was on one knee, hugging Clara's leg. "Second miss, I was wrong. Please, spare this humble servant." I forced myself upright, my head pounding. "If you have a problem, take it out on me. Leave my brother out of this." Clara walked toward me, her presence so intense I unconsciously backed away. She pulled out a tissue and began furiously wiping the lipstick from my face. "Bet it felt great being surrounded by all those women, huh?" she hissed. Embarrassed, I lowered my head. "Pull your pants up," she barked. I frantically checked my waistband, stammering an explanation before it hit me. I'm the one who wants a divorce. Why is she still ordering me around? The crowd was full of City A's elite. If this story got out, I'd be a laughingstock forever. Fueled by indignation, I stiffened my neck. Those girls, not even a single toe of theirs is inferior to you. To sell the performance, I grabbed the nearest woman and pulled her into my arms. She's the one I really love. The crowd gasped. The woman in my arms went rigid. I looked down and my heart nearly stopped. It was Sophie. The system's smug voice chimed in my head. Congratulations, host, on completing the death-seeking task. Attempted seduction of the sister-in-law. Sophie glared at me and slapped me hard across the face. You've got a death wish, she spat. Ethan immediately wrapped his arms around her protectively, barking at me. Trying to get with your own sister-in-law? You disgusting, two-faced pervert? I sneaked a glance at Clara. Her expression was a terrifying mix of fury, shock, and something that looked like hurt. My gaze fell on Ethan, inching closer to the edge of the pool. A crazy thought popped into my head. If the male lead dies, wouldn't this whole story fall apart? No more thinking. I charged at Ethan like a madman, intent on shoving him into the water. If I was going down, I was taking someone with me, but just as my hand gripped his collar, someone tripped me. My calf cramped, and I tumbled headfirst into the pool. The chlorinated water rushed into my mouth and nose. My last thought was, shit, I'm so screwed. In a daze, I felt someone pressing hard against my chest while quiet sobs echoed beside me. I tried to open my eyes, but everything was a blur. Then, something soft and cold touched my lips, blowing air into my lungs again and again. The system chirped cheerfully in my head. Congratulations, host, on completing the death mission. Failed attempt to eliminate the male lead. A violent coughing fit brought me back to full consciousness. Clara's face, pale as a ghost, loomed over me. Ethan was sobbing beside us. Leo, you betrayed Senior, harassed Sophie, and now you tried to kill me. Calling you a beast would be an insult to animals. I collapsed limply, my face ashen. Clara dismissed everyone, leaving just the two of us by the vast, empty pool. This was it. She must truly hate me now. I was probably going to be executed on the spot. I wondered if our years of marriage could at least buy me a dignified end. She pinned me against the wall. I shielded my face with my hands. Please. Not the face. She was silent for a long moment before letting out a sharp, chilling laugh that cut through the night. I braced myself. Fine, it was my fault for hurting your beloved Ethan, I said, my eyes shut tight. If you want to hit me, just do it. But can't you let me keep a shred of dignity? When I die, at least send my ashes back to my family. Instead of the slap I expected, something warm brushed against my lips. It felt just like the breath from the resuscitation earlier. I opened my eyes. Clara was on her tiptoes, her arms wrapped around my neck, kissing me with a fierce, desperate determination. My heart stuttered, and I abandoned all resistance, pulling her closer as if I could melt her into my very bones. Only when my lips were numb did she finally let go. With a soft sigh, her voice sweet yet helpless, she whispered, You really got me this time. So, you only sponsored Ethan back in college? You two were never actually together? I asked, stunned, as I handed a cup of hot tea to Clara. She chuckled softly. That's right. If you don't believe me, ask him. Ethan, still rubbing his sore backside nearby, forced a smile. I swear, there's nothing improper between Senior and me. I asked her to pretend with Mado put on a show for Sophie. I just wanted to make her jealous and get her to take me seriously. It was mutual support, that's all. Senior also wanted to see if she still had a place in your heart. I was screaming internally for the system to explain what was happening, but the usually chatty voice was dead silent. Clara stroked my hair gently. What's running through that head of yours? You still don't believe me? Something clicked in my brain. What about my other sister-in-law? I shouted at Ethan. You and the eldest Lou's sister Catherine. What's going on between you two? Ethan looked at me like I'd grown a second head. You mean Chairwoman Lou? She's the head of a massive conglomerate. I'd be lucky to even breathe the same air as her. This was completely different from what the system had told me. Could it be that I had accidentally altered the plot? Not dying was already the best possible outcome. That night, as we lay in bed, Clara straddled me, drawing circles on my chest. Leo, should we have a baby? She asked. A wave of sweetness rushed through me. Didn't you say you didn't want a child to get in the way of your career? I asked. In the dim light, a trace of sadness crossed her face. Seeing you today, surrounded by those women, with lipstick all over your face, I was crushed. When you said you wanted a divorce at the hospital, I was so furious I felt like killing someone. When you fell into the pool, I thought I might lose you forever. If I had your child, maybe then you wouldn't want to leave me. I flipped her over and pinned her beneath me as thunder rumbled outside. Later, she curled up against my chest and whispered, Leo, I love you. I kissed her forehead. I love you too. Forget the plot, forget the system. All that mattered was this moment. And yet, just as I drifted off to sleep, I heard that familiar electric hum. Host, you are the villainous cannon fodder side character. You are not destined to end up with Clara. Accepting your role is the only path forward. Groggy, I mumbled back. No, I won't accept that. I won't die. The next day, nothing happened, and I convinced myself it had all been a dream. Clara even replaced my destroyed TV with a newer, more luxurious model. But as we sat at the breakfast table, the morning news began to play. Breaking. Lou Corporation's CEO Catherine spotted late at night, drinking and holding hands with her sister's boyfriend. My knife and fork clattered to the floor. This damned plot always late, but never absent. I spent the whole day on edge. My scripted death must be inevitable. My only option was to run. I tore the house apart and found a safe in Clara's study. The password, shockingly, was my birthday. But inside, there was no cash, only a single locked notebook. I had a strong feeling something important was inside. Before I could put it back, I heard hurried footsteps. Clara burst through the door, followed by several bodyguards. Her face was livid. Beat him within an inch of his life, she screamed. The trained bodyguards pinned me to the ground. As fists began to rain down on me, the system finally spoke up. Host, I go offline for a little while, and you're already at the point of being written out of the story? As I dodged the blows, my eyes landed on the fallen notebook. A string of numbers suddenly popped into my head. 1,228. I crawled forward, grabbed the notebook, and rapidly entered the code. Click. The lock opened. The system shrieked in protest, but all I felt was a powerful jolt of electricity coursing through my body before everything went black. I woke up again, in the same hospital room, with the same nurse. Wasn't I just in a car accident? A sharp pain shot through my head. I jumped out of bed and stumbled around the room until I crashed into a familiar, orchid-scented embrace. Clara looked at me, full of worry. Doctor, come quickly! What's wrong with my husband? This Clara was different, softer, more caring. The doctor performed an examination and sighed. His condition stems from emotional trauma. Only love can heal this. Clara wiped away her tears. Let's go home! She called in her bodyguards to escort us. But when I saw the familiar black-suited men, a dam burst in my brain. Memories flooded back with terrifying clarity. I shrank into a corner, holding my head and wailing, Don't hit me! I don't want to die! I don't want the croissant! Clara's eyes lit up. She rushed toward me, shaking my shoulders. You remember? What else do you remember? She pulled out the locked notebook and held it out to me. Take a look inside. December 28, 2020. Clear skies. My parents set me up on a blind date. The moment I saw her, I couldn't look away. Her name was Clara. May 4, 2021. Cloudy. We finalized our engagement today. I'm finally going to marry the girl I love. August 8, 2022. Sunny. Clara looked stunning in her wedding dress. February 14, 2023. Overcast. The best Valentine's gift. Clara told me I'm going to be a dad. It was my journal. The password was the date I first met Clara. But the contents felt completely foreign. My family had been the one with the business troubles. I was going to be a father. My mind was in chaos. When I was pregnant, Clara explained gently, I was incredibly needy. Every night, I begged you to read me a novel. The one you chose was an urban romance about a kept husband, all about the Liu sisters and a male lead with a system. I cut her off. So reading that book fried my brain and made me think I was the villain in the story? She burst out laughing. You're half right. It turned out that when Clara went into a difficult labor, I was stuck in a massive traffic jam, losing my mind with worry. The nanny was on the phone, panicked. In desperation, I'd hijacked a stranger's motorbike and raced through traffic, only to crash into a truck right at the hospital intersection. My overwhelming worry for her, combined with the thousands of chapters of that ridiculous novel, broke something in my brain. I fully immersed myself in the role of the villain, so much so that I even co-opted the male lead's system for myself. The psychiatrist said my condition couldn't be forcibly corrected. Any shock to my constructed reality could cause permanent damage. So, left with no other choice, Clara decided to create a tailored dream world just for me, enlisting Sophie, her boyfriend Ethan, and everyone around us to act out the parts. Then what about Catherine? I asked. Sophie laughed. Haven't you noticed? In all your memories, you've never actually seen her. Where were we supposed to find a real ice-cold CEO big sister like that? And my TV? I asked. The news reports about all of you? Ethan grinned. I work in tech. Faking a news segment is easy. My parents and sister? Right on cue, the door burst open. My usually stoic mother charged in, bawling as she threw herself onto me. My son, you're finally back! My sister followed, crying silently. My dad stood at the door, growling. You embarrassed the whole family. Get up already. I latched onto one last plot hole. If your status in the family is so high, I asked my dad, why do my sister and I have mom's last name? My dad was speechless for a moment. Have you ever considered that my last name might also be Wang? Touché. Then he added, take a look at your son. The nanny stepped forward, gently placing a swaddled baby in my arms. A strange, overwhelming feeling washed over me. Holy crap, I really am a dad. Lately, Leo keeps asking me why I suddenly stopped following the script when everything was going so smoothly. The truth is, back in the hospital, when his own family hurt him so deeply that he wanted a divorce, I just couldn't act anymore. I thought, even if he spent the rest of his life lost in that delusion, I'd still stay with him. But that night, I overheard him arguing with his system. The voice in his head was guiding him toward death. I contacted his psychiatrist, who said Leo was in the middle of his final battle with his inner world. Because I didn't stick to the storyline, it caused a ripple in his psyche. The only solution left was to push the plot to its climax. Only in extreme emotional conflict would he find a breakthrough. That's why I sent the bodyguards to stage his final scene. There is no system. There is only the unwavering love of family and friends. Oh, and by the way now, every morning at breakfast, he insists on having a croissant. Only half of one.